Yahoo Fantasy Football. We're going to go through the rankings for wide receivers, the pre-draft rankings, and talk a little bit about each of the wide receivers as they've ranked them, and give our thoughts on how we think they're going to do this year.
Obviously, the number one is Andre Johnson. He's the guy that the only wide receiver while I've been doing mock drafts that has been consistently pretty much every time picked in the first round.
Take him if he's available. Take him. He's guaranteed to get stats. Even if Matt Schaub goes down, he's going to get you some stats. So he's the best wide receiver in football, and I think other people who don't recognize that are really turning a blind eye to an amazing talent.
Yeah.
I would take him first.
He's valuable.
There's really nothing else you can say about that.
Yeah, although I'm not sure I would go with him.
I would take him first overall. I would not take him first overall, running back.
Last year I went with the top wide receiver as my first pick, and it hit me in the
ass. That was devastating. What was your record last year?
I don't remember. I forgot. I blocked it out.
This is good because we got somebody who finished at the top and somebody finished at the bottom. Now we're in the same division.
I'm going to take you down this year.
We're going to play twice.
Yeah. Randy Moss is the New England wide receiver, and personally, I'd stay away from him. Unless you've got Tom Brady in your lineup, I'd stay away from him.
I want to be impartial. Moss does put up good numbers, but I don't like Randy Moss, so I wouldn't pick him.
Last year, he was almost a non-factor.
Well, in some games. He wound up being good in some games when he decided he wanted to try hard.
Yeah.
But Wes Welker actually wound up being their yardage guy. So
yeah, exactly.
Moss got them the touchdowns, so Moss finished what Welker started. That could be a difficult thing to sort out in New England this season. But I think New England's going to be great. I think Randy Moss is a safe pick. Just ask Spock last season in our league.
Yeah, it's true.
It's Spock Nanu, the team that ran roughshod over everybody in the regular season.
He had Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but he also had Johnson and Moss.
Oh, he had them both?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hence why that guy was so darn good.
And you beat him.
In the final.
Yeah.
When
those guys didn't play. All right, Reggie Wayne. Always a safe bet.
The Colts have a lot of options, though. It could be a situation similar to the Saints, where they have so many options that the ball winds up being spread around. And Manning's not afraid to spread the ball around to whoever's doing really well that game.
He's not, but Reggie Wayne's going to see enough of the work that I think makes him a viable fantasy. I mean, I think he's Manning looks to him first.
Right.
So I don't think there's any problems taking him. Calvin Johnson. That's interesting. Detroit Lions.
Well, they're going to play from behind a lot, so somebody's got to catch those balls.
Yeah.
I do think Bradford's going to be...
Stafford.
I get those two mixed up because I hate Big 12 football. I do think that Stafford's going to be a better quarterback this year. I think Calvin Johnson could have a breakout season and compete with those guys. So I would say he's a safe pick.
Yeah, Johnson's probably fine, as is Larry Fitzgerald.
He's going to see a lot of double coverage.
So
his numbers will probably see a tick downward from the Pro Bowler Larry Fitzgerald that we're all familiar with. Also the problems at quarterback with the Cardinals possibly not having a good quarterback. But I do think they're going to play from behind more, and I think that makes Larry Fitzgerald a viable option at wide receiver.
And like we said before, Larry Fitzgerald being double covered does not necessarily prevent him from catching footballs.
Yeah, he's been triple covered in caught passes. So.
Yeah, so I think
I would still take Larry Fitzgerald, but definitely draft one or two other really good wide receivers if you're going to go that route.
Yeah. Roddy White, perhaps? I got to tell you, I had him last year. And regretted
traded for him, didn't you?
No, I traded him away because he got hurt or something. He stopped. No, Matt Ryan got hurt.
Yeah,
that's what happened last year. Matt Ryan got hurt, and the Falcons went.
They went down the toilet. They became a 500 ball club. I think Roddy White has a really good year because I think the Falcons are going to have a really good year. They play in a division that's going to be very offensive first, so. I would say take Roddy White. I think he's a great wide receiver to be starting in your wide receiver one column.
I hold a grudge against him, so I won't be picking him.
Who do we got after White?
Miles Austin.
He's
my namesake. He was named after me.
Oh wow, that's unfortunate. Mm-hmm. I think Miles Austin's going to have a really good season. I think the Cowboys wide receiving core as a group is going to have a really good season. So he's definitely another guy that you should probably take if he's available.
Mm-hmm. And despite what we feel about the Minnesota Vikings, Sidney Rice is probably another good option.
That's the problem, though. It's a big if because I do think Favre's coming back. But if Favre does not come back,
if Favre does not come back,
value tumbles.
Yeah, Sidney Rice is not going anywhere, I think.
But I would say take him anyway. He'll probably emerge, regardless of who the quarterback is. He'll probably emerge as their best wide receiver anyway.
Yeah, not likelihood. Brandon Marshall with Miami now.
I think he has a big year in Miami. We talked in our quarterbacks video about Chad Henne benefiting from the addition of Marshall. And I think the pieces, this is something we didn't talk about with Henne, but I think the pieces around Marshall in the wide receiving core for the Dolphins benefit from Marshall getting attention. The Dolphins have really struggled to find a key wide receiver in the past couple of seasons. With them having a blatantly obvious number one option at wide receiver, I think the rest of the wide receiver core benefits, and I think Marshall is a guy who gets his numbers regardless of how the team's doing. Too.
Yeah.
So I think Marshall's a great pick.
Now I really like Deshaun Jackson for a fantasy league, just because he's the best wide receiver that's also a return man. And
if they continue to use him in that role, that's excellent.
I think they will.
Because, a lot of times you see those players who do so successfully on the running back or wide receiver side get pulled away from doing returns for injury concerns. But,
I know Devin Hester, got pulled off returns for the most part.
They wanted to find a way to take a guy who was amazing. With Devin Hester, they wanted to find a way to take a guy who was amazing at returns and make him into an offensive threat.
Right.
And they're still trying to do that.
But the whole thing with Jackson about, going to the Pro Bowl last year as a wide receiver and as the kick returner, I think they're going to keep him there.
My devil's advocate with Jackson is he had a lot of big bomb plays. Take out half those big bomb plays, and he's dropping down your list of wide receivers. So,
yeah. And we don't know how Kevin Kolb is going to be.
I think Kevin Kolb's going to be good. He's going to be serviceable. So I think Jackson's good if you make sure you hedge your bets at the other wide receiver slot or take some really good running backs.
Mm-hmm. Greg Jennings, number one quarterback for Green Bay.
Wide receiver,
sorry.
Green Bay's got a lot of options. I do think Jennings does beat out Donald Driver as far as yards and touchdowns finally this year, because Donald Driver seems to linger on that offense anyway and try to take some of the numbers away from some of those other guys from a fantasy standpoint. But I think the Packers are going to be great. I do personally think they're going to make a Super Bowl run. I think Jennings is worth having on your roster.
Certainly.
Definitely take him if he's available at a wide receiver one slot.
Marcus Colston.
Saints, right?
Saints, yes indeed.
Saints are frustrating at wide receiver because there are games where the Saints wide receivers, insert random wide receiver here, disappear and have no catches, no stats.
Yeah,
you didn't even see him on the field.
The Saints don't have a number one. That's the problem. Colson is the closest they've got.
1A, 1B, 1C, because Breeze will find somebody and throw it, and there's no selfishness on this team. That's why this team went to the Super Bowl and won it. Yeah. But I think Colston will probably wind up emerging as the best of those statistically, but get ready to see him not do anything for you 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 times in the course of the season.
Mm-hmm. You've got Steve Smith, and then Anquan Bolden, and then Steve Smith.
Which Steve Smith are we going with first?
Well, the Carolina Steve Smith is up first.
I think he has a good year. I think Matt Moore's going to be good. I think Steve Smith has always found a way to prove himself and to prove the doubters wrong. I think Steve Smith is a very good pick. But as having been a former Steve Smith owner, you do have to be prepared for the possibility of him either getting suspended, getting injured, or not showing up in a couple of games, because the Panthers are probably going to have some aches and pains on the offensive side, and they are technically a run-first offense.
We should probably wait until a new video to do Anquan Bolden, so let's do that.